Hello. I wanted to show off my awesome blue foot, which is about to be taken away from me today in less than an hour. And tell you what happened. It wasn't as exciting a story as people would probably like to hear, where I'm 20 miles from the nearest road out in the wilderness, and I fall off a cliff and break my ankle, and for several days I'm crawling on my hands and knees through the desert, being stalked by mountain lions. That's not the story. Actually, what happened was the night of my birthday, December 6th, and it was actually technically the morning of December 7th at not quite 1:30 a.m. I'm running down the stairs, which I've always done since I was 5 years old, you know, skipping 2 or 3 steps. And then I just kind of landed crooked on my right ankle, felt and heard a snap, and I felt this part of my ankle touch the step. So anyway, then I go face first down the rest of that flight of stairs and kind of land partly on the landing, and I'm screaming in agony, and I know instinctually that I just broke my ankle, but I haven't broken any bones since I was 2, or maybe not even 2. You know, this is me, the little kid with the cast on his arm. I was swinging, I got scared, I kind of let myself go out of the swing because I was scared, little coward, and broke my arm. That was then. So I just turned 43 years old and broke the only other bone that I've ever broken in my life, so far as I know. So just running downstairs, it wasn't anything exciting like on a crazy hike or anything. But anyway, so then even though I know it's broken, I tried to stand up, because I'm hoping it's just sprained. And it just bent underneath me, and then I went face first down towards the next flight of stairs, and then I crawled from that point. I get back upstairs to my office, which is where I am now, eventually, long story short, right? So I put my ankle in, or my leg in a splint, just a homemade splint, which I learned how to do, and this is one of the reasons I'm bringing this up, from First Aid for Soldiers. See, the military, this is the Army First Aid Manual, Handbook. The military makes these for soldiers, and I think it's pretty important that people learn all of the basic soldier, combat type first aid as much as you can. Get one of these books. I got this from a military surplus store, but the Army would have it also online. You could look it up online and probably print the whole thing, I'm sure. And I'm sure all the other branches of military have a similar thing. So anyway, I put myself in a homemade splint, and then I laid there for about a full day, almost a full day, till my brother, who's visiting from Papua New Guinea, helped me go find some crutches in a second-hand store, and then I took a shower and discovered that my heel was turning dark purple right there, which meant to me there's internal damage inside my foot, which would most likely be caused by what? A broken bone scraping against the, tissues inside the foot. So then I went to the ER, and I told them I didn't have any insurance, and they said, no problem, we'll take 75% off your bill if you want to make payments. Great, 75% off sounds good. So we get an x-ray, and it shows that my fibula has completely snapped, and that the ligament is destroyed. Okay, so I went to an orthopedic surgeon, Dr. James Andre, from Ortho, Arizona, and he takes a look at the x-ray that they do, and he goes, you know what, I can't just let you walk away without doing surgery on this, because if you don't get surgery done, you'll never walk normal again. So he basically gives me a cyborg ankle, you know, puts a plate and screws in there and whatever, so now I'm part man and part machine. And I did know this was coming, because as we get older, our bodies begin to break down. And as healthy as I try to be, I try to eat healthy, I try to exercise, you know, the way I look at it, whether this is accurate or not, I look at it like, you know, those old cassette tapes. If you were copying a cassette tape, your copy of the original cassette isn't quite as good. And if you made a copy of that, then the copy of the copy isn't quite as high quality. You're still losing some frequencies in the sound. And you make a copy of that, and it's even lower quality until you just have this nasty quality cassette, you know, as you make copies of copies of copies. And I see our cells as doing that too. So we have to have the healthiest cells we can have by eating the healthiest foods and drinking the healthiest drinks possible. It's still inevitable that over time those cells are going to be less healthy, because we were designed intentionally for this body to break down, for the same reason that a caterpillar was designed to make a cocoon so that it can become a butterfly. God didn't design death. He designed what we call death because we're ignorant of what it really is. It's a transformation. Take a forest, you know, you got a pine tree, okay? Does the pine tree ever die? Ever? No, because the pine tree drops pine cones, you know, the seeds in the pine cones become a new pine tree, so the spirit, so-called, that causes that tree to be alive, and as opposed to a rock, which isn't, okay, that living tree passes its spirit on to the pine cone. The seed grows into a new tree so that the old body that is decaying can die. And why is it necessary that the old body, the tree, dies? Because the new tree needs that nutrition from the plants and the trees and so forth. And so in that way, trees live forever. There is no dead tree as long as it reproduces. It keeps going and going. And so God designed our bodies to die so that we, our souls, the part of us that is immortal, can continue to live forever. And if we were trapped in this body forever, we couldn't. Not really. I mean, we would live in a crappy world forever, let's put it that way. So, the body's designed to break down. I saw it coming. I've envisioned myself becoming kind of a cyborg over time, starting with that ankle. So, I wanted to explain also, when I made my homemade splint, I used, you've probably seen me wearing this before. This is the Knights of the Colors sash. In this case, is a black knight sash. It is exactly 7 feet long by 12 inches wide, so that I can use it for measuring. It's also used for, obviously, for wrapping wounds, for putting on poultices, for, you know, what I used it for. I used 2 of them actually. I have another one that's about a foot shorter, and made my splint. And I'll tell you only, see, I told you the point of the video, which was please learn combat, you know, military first aid, because when you're out hiking in the wilderness all by yourself, there is the possibility you may have to know how to deal with worst case scenarios, like, for example, you fall off a cliff and your leg is completely broken open, or you know, you get mauled by a mountain lion, or you get shot, or whatever. So that's why I'm recommending that you go get military first aid manuals and read them cover to cover and learn what's in there. If you really want to be serious about, you know, what you would call survivalism, if you just want to live out in the wilderness, you have to know how to deal with first aid at the very least. So anyway, that said, the sash is actually what it means. In the Knights of the Colors that I follow, you go through a color progression that starts with where you leave off in the color progression if you were in martial arts. Martial arts goes from white belt through various colors and ends up at a black belt. So the Knights of the Colors system that I follow is the reverse. It's a mirror image. So you're starting at the black, you're working through colors in a kind of a rainbow progression until you end up at the white sash. Okay, the reason it's a mirror image of that system of learning is because it's spiritual martial arts, so to speak. I mean, you could look at it that way. You're learning whatever the Spirit of God wants to teach you, and you're measuring your progress, unlike in religion where there is no measurement of your progress. You just consider yourself to either be a Christian or a Jew or a Muslim or whatever, or you're not. With the Knights of the Colors, you are learning what the Spirit of God wants to teach you and able to measure your progress by certain signs. And those signs are things that other people might call miracles that you are able to do based on your level of faith. Other people might call them miracles. I don't consider anything to be a miracle. Everything is part of nature. God designed everything in the universe. He's part of nature in the same way that a architect is part of the house. He's the one who designed it. Okay, but even more, the Spirit of God inhabits nature in the same way that your spirit inhabits your body. So the physical universe is kind of like the body of God, in a sense. You are not your body. You are a separate being that has an immortal capacity that exists outside the body as a soul, in a subconscious way. And that part of you goes on when the body dies. But anyway, so the black sash, or the black knight, represents somebody who is accepting. He is completely humbling himself before God as a learner. So you picture light coming from the sun, okay, and how a prism separates light into different frequencies. Black is absorbing all the light. So you're absorbing all of the knowledge. You have humbled yourself, and you're in a situation where you are willing to just learn everything God wants to teach you. My recommendation is, if you wanted to do that, and this is the symbol or the sign of that. So my recommendation is, if you wanted to do that, first of all, there's no human teacher, only the Spirit of God. But the starting point that I recommend is Jesus. Okay, you go to the New Testament in the Bible, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, read everything he said and did. Okay, even if you have your doubts about whether that's, real, or if somebody made it up, even if you have your doubts, start there. Because what you'll learn is the very first, most important lessons, and you will keep learning more and more and more. It's like an onion. You just peel off layers of wisdom and knowledge as you go. So anyway, I am somewhere between black and white in the color progression. I'm not going to say where. I just wear the black sash as a symbol of submitting myself fully to God to learn. And even that's why I use these two sashes in my splint. When I made my homemade splint, it was just a submission to God, knowing that God intends to teach me something with this broken ankle, that this happened for a reason. I'm submitting fully to Him to learn. So I don't walk around wearing a higher color because I'm not trying to be arrogant or a show off or whatever, and I don't really want people to know where I am. I just want other people to follow Christ and learn, along with me. So anyway, I wasn't sure that I wanted to get off on the colors philosophy because I'm not sure that anybody cares. But I wanted to let people know what's going on right now, and I'm about to leave right now to go to the doctor's office to have this cut off. Not the whole foot, just the blue part of it. And I get to learn to walk again, and hopefully I'll be out in the wilderness in no time, continuing where I left off in early December. So I'll see you then.